been revealed that Prince Andrew hosted the late ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein as well as Ghislaine Maxwell and Harvey Weinstein at the Royal Lodge, the publicly owned home where he effectively lives rent-free after he paid for its renovation.
Today we're diving into the newest chapter in the ongoing drama surrounding Sarah Ferguson and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And believe me, it's chaotic, intense, and escalating week by week. Recent reports suggest that Sarah Ferguson is planning to leave the United Kingdom completely. Not for a simple vacation, not for a short break, but for what insiders describe as a calculated exit, a long-term getaway. Sources indicate she isn't heading to Abu Dhabi. Instead, she's considering a permanent move to Portugal, where Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooks are said to own a £3.6 million oceanfront estate. Meanwhile, Andrew remains mired in the aftermath of the Epstein scandal, facing continued scrutiny from the United States and the harsh reality of being forced out of Royal Lodge. New insider leaks claim the former couple are finally going their separate ways for good. For Sarah, this could mean losing her home, damaging her reputation, and desperately seeking a fresh start. Buckle up, there's a lot to unravel.
More they can do, because of course this process started under Queen Elizabeth, as we know, when she eventually, reluctantly, but she did so, stripped Andrew of his HRH status and his public duties, and effectively he was a pariah publicly anyway. It would have been impossible for him to conduct royal duties on behalf of the family.
According to several insiders, staff at the Costa Golf and Ocean Club have been preparing a guest suite for Sarah Ferguson, reportedly for a January arrival. This luxury estate is situated along the southern Atlantic coast, just a short drive from Lisbon. It's heavily secured, extremely private, and home to celebrities who have purchased properties to escape media attention. We're talking Madonna, Scarlett Johansson, Alicia Vikander, Michael Fassbender, and Nicole Kidman, who is said to have applied for Portuguese residency. Locals say word is spreading that Sarah could be arriving within weeks, potentially for an extended stay. One neighbour told reporters, "The buzz here is that Fergie will be arriving sometime in January. How long she remains is anyone's guess, but she will blend into the social scene. This isn't a weekend getaway. This isn't a girl's trip. This is an exile." Now, let's discuss the real reason she's packing her bags for Portugal.
New deal is being sold as a royal trade-off of sorts after weeks of mounting speculation and criticism over whether Prince Andrew would be evicted from Royal Lodge. It seems he's ultimately found a way out, but on his terms, as widely splashed across British tabloids today.
Sarah and Andrew are being forced out of Royal Lodge, their expansive Windsor residence where they've lived together for 17 years despite divorcing back in the 90s. King Charles has made it clear they must leave. Andrew will relocate alone to a smaller property on the Sandringham estate. Sarah will not. Palace insiders report there's no plan, no cottage, no annex, not even a grace and favour option for her. She's been told she must make her own arrangements, which means she's literally on the verge of being homeless. Sources close to the matter say the imminent split from Andrew is real, final, and emotionally devastating. After nearly 2 decades living as unofficial partners, their marriage didn't survive the 90s, but their cohabitation did. Now even that chapter has ended.
Ferguson, she's like a lot more of his friends. They're all running scared, they're all running away. Our daughter suffered 14 years of physical and mental abuse by a similar man, who's now in prison.
Sarah's troubles didn't start at Royal Lodge. They began long ago, following decades of scandals. But matters intensified when a leaked email emerged in which she referred to Jeffrey Epstein as a supreme friend. That email shattered her already fragile reputation. Every charity position she held was eliminated. She was removed as an ambassador for the British Heart Foundation, and several other organisations quietly severed ties. American investigators in Congress have recently reopened the Epstein inquiry. New subpoenas, new pressure, and renewed scrutiny on everyone who benefited from Epstein's connections. Andrew is obviously at the centre, but Sarah has suddenly returned to the spotlight as well. A US-based source familiar with the Costa Terra resort said it's an ideal place for Fergie to lay low while the Epstein matter continues to unfold in Congress. She'll be surrounded by family and friends and far removed from the hostile environment in England.
Well, this image shows them all at birthday celebrations at the mansion in 2006. Now, that was just 2 months after a US arrest warrant was issued for Epstein for the sexual assault of a minor, and Epstein was then arrested by police.
In other words, Portugal isn't just a sunny getaway, it's a shield. The backlash has been intense. Sarah was quietly dropped from ITV's Loose Women, where she had previously been welcomed as a friendly, lively guest. Producers have made it clear they don't want to deal with the storm now surrounding her. Then came reports of high-level meetings with a brand recovery team. Yes, that's the term sources used, a full corporate-style reputation overhaul. According to insiders, the discussions focus on how she can sustain herself financially after leaving Royal Lodge and how she can continue earning income after losing her titles, charity positions, and role in the royal system. It's a complete reset. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are reportedly very concerned. Both daughters are said to be urging Sarah to step back, rebuild her public image, and create distance from the scandals engulfing both their father and mother.
Children's Charity is distancing itself from Sarah Ferguson. After an email the Duchess of York sent to convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein in 2011, calling him a, quote, supreme friend resurfaced, Child Hospice Center Julia's House has issued a statement confirming they'll no longer be associating with the royal.
And now, in what appears to be a carefully planned rescue effort, Eugenie and Jack Brooks Bank are offering their luxury Portuguese home as a safe landing spot for Sarah. The Brooks Banks purchased the Costa Terra property in 2022. It's situated in a celebrity-filled enclave along the Atlantic, complete with a golf course, spa, and some of the priciest homes in Portugal. Buckingham Palace has pushed back on reports that Eugenie pays only a token rent for her London residence, Ivy Cottage, but has declined to confirm whether she pays the full rate. Either way, this Portuguese estate is clearly a serious base for her and Jack. The fact that they are preparing it for Sarah says it all. They know January will be challenging, the fallout will intensify, and she needs a place far from the British media. Although they've lived together for years, the cracks are now visible. Andrew is relocating to a smaller home on the Sandringham estate, still facing immense pressure from the King, the public, and international investigations.
And the King has taken it further and stripped him of private funding in a bid to kind of smoke him out of Royal Lodge. But the trouble is, as we've often said on this programme, he has this cast iron lease on Royal Lodge that is going to, 170 odd years.
His finances are unstable. His reputation is shattered. Sarah cannot follow him. Not only has she not been invited, but the palace reportedly does not want her there. Andrew himself has been described as too consumed by his own crisis to support her as well. Recent reports indicate the couple has been having tense dinners discussing their inevitable split and what will happen when the eviction date finally arrives. One source described Sarah as panicked, anxious, and increasingly emotional over the reality that she and Andrew will physically separate for the first time in decades. If she leaves the UK, the separation becomes even more permanent. Costa Terra is not a random choice. It's one of Europe's most exclusive hideaways. Former NBC executive Ted Harbert called it the Hamptons of Europe. It features private beaches, personal security, private chefs, and a social circle packed with Hollywood stars. For a woman who has just lost all her royal privileges and is desperate to maintain her social status, it's the perfect place to blend in without being engulfed by scandal. Over the past year alone, several new financial controversies involving Sarah have resurfaced. One of the biggest came from her involvement with Pegasus Group Holdings, a failed Bitcoin mining venture she was paid to promote. It promised major development in the Nevada desert. Instead, investors claimed the funds vanished and the project collapsed. Sarah reportedly earned £200,000 plus a promised £1.2 million bonus before the company imploded. That story is now being recirculated as her credibility crumbles just as the Royal Lodge eviction hits. On top of that, past stories about her book sales, previous business debts, and ongoing questions about how she has funded her lifestyle for so long have resurfaced.
No sympathy whatsoever for Sarah Ferguson and her friends and Andrew. I think they should stand down. It's time we remove the lot of them. There's a lot more than her, and they're all running scared, making excuses up now for what's been happening.
For someone on the verge of losing her home, the financial pressure is mounting, which is another reason her daughters are stepping in, as Sarah cannot maintain a Windsor lifestyle without a Windsor roof. Turning to Andrew, his turmoil directly impacts hers, as recent months have brought more damaging stories, with staff speaking again about his shocking behaviour behind closed doors, former aides reiterating claims of his arrogance, temper, and the infamous habit of barking at staff, which made headlines earlier this year. New interviews from Andrew Lai, author of Entitled, allege that Andrew's entitlement and patterns of bullying were evident from his school days, sharing fresh examples of his behaviour toward women, staff, and colleagues. On top of that, US Congress pressure continues, demanding greater transparency around Epstein's network, proving this scandal is not fading but growing, and every time Andrew is mentioned, Sarah's name follows. Reports claim Sarah has been spending her final days at Royal Lodge, hiding in a private bar on the estate, confiding in staff, and expressing her fears, terrified of losing her home, her finances, being pulled back into the Epstein investigation, and the impact on Beatrice and Eugenie. Privately, she is said to be exhausted, overwhelmed, and heartbroken at leaving the estate she has long considered home, with friends insisting the Portugal plan is not a luxury getaway but a survival strategy. Insiders are divided, with some believing she will return once the storm passes, while others see this as the start of a permanent relocation, especially if Eugenie and Jack continue growing their life in Portugal, providing privacy, warmth, distance from tabloids, and proximity to Eugenie, who has become her emotional anchor as her UK life collapses. The only certainty is that Sarah is leaving. A woman who once married into one of the world's most powerful families, with royal status, charity roles, and a permanent Windsor residence, is now being removed from her home, cut off from the palace, dropped by charities, shunned by TV networks, and relying on her daughter to escape public humiliation, long overdue according to many, as her ties to Epstein, financial controversies, proximity to Andrew, and leaked email have merged into a perfect storm, leading her to plan a full departure from the country. Sarah Ferguson is preparing to leave Britain in January, seeking refuge in a £3.6 million Portuguese villa while her ex-husband moves to Norfolk under the watch of an increasingly impatient king, splitting physically and emotionally for the first time in nearly 2 decades, with every indication that this is only the beginning of a larger upheaval, and updates on the eviction timeline, Portugal move, public appearances, and ongoing investigations affecting Andrew show the story is accelerating, not slowing.